SafeLine WAF. What is it and how do you install it? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly those two things. So this is SafeLine WAF. Now, what is it? Now, SafeLine WAF is the easiest way I can explain this to you is think of Nginx Proxy Manager and a reverse proxy, right? If you're familiar with those concepts, then great. You know that you can use a tool like this to expose an application that you are running, and especially from a home lab use case, you know, you've just got it on a home server and you want to expose it to the internet, you can use that using a reverse proxy, right? But this is where SafeLine comes in with the WAF side of things as well. Not only can you use it as a reverse proxy, you can get all the protections of it as well. And I'm going to show you, first off, we'll just cover SafeLine WAF top to bottom really quickly, and I'll explain the features of it. But then I'm going to show you how it actually works. And just having a quick look at their page, you can see here, we can block web attacks, we can do rate limiting, capture challenges, application challenge, and dynamic protection. All of this I'm going to show you. So I have this instance here all up and running using Docker. This is exactly what I'm going to show you how you can get it installed as well. All of the information for this will be in the description below. I'll have links to all the install guides, also my documentation website, which I will have any of the code or the Docker compose files and all of that stuff will be over there as well. So you can just copy and paste it and get going. So let's start top to bottom with SafeLine WAF. So the first thing I want to explain is this top part here. You can see it says 28 days to expire. So like a lot of other self-hosted applications, some of them have a paid option, right? So they have their sort of home user features, which is the free versions, and generally that's good enough for most home users, and I would say that's the case here for SafeLine as well. So I have the paid version here, but what I'm going to show you is I will show you all the features here, and then when we do the redeployment in the second half of me showing you how you can get this all up and running, I will just install the free version without a license key so you can see exactly the differences. Now, I'm not being paid by SafeLine. They reached out and was asking if I was going to make a video on this. I was actually already going to, hence them reaching out on my Discord. So they're not paying me, but what we've agreed on is that they will give out 4 7-day license keys to Discord users. So jump to the Discord, reach out if you're keen on one, and I will get you a 7-day license key. We'll also give one user a 1-month license key as well. And the Discord link will be in the description as well. So like I was saying, as you can see here, we've got our requests and we can see, you know, what requests were blocked, if there's any 400 errors or 500 errors, and we can see live queries of the website. So going to my service, which is hello.techdox.nz, that's the domain name. And again, this is all exposed via SafeLine, right? We have the certificate and everything all handled via SafeLine as well. So I've just accessed that. So we should see the traffic. Coming back to SafeLine, we can see those queries come through, right? So we've got a basic tab here and the advanced one. So the advanced one is where you're going to see some of the limitations. So anything with the lightning bolt will indicate what's kind of behind a paywall, right? And the 7-day and 30 days being behind a paywall is kind of a pain, I would say. Like, this is what I would call basic information that we would need. But coming down here, we can see, you know, what the users are running, right? What are they running? The Linux, Mac OS, you know, the web browser and stuff like that. And also the response status, and then any other referring pages, and then the popular pages that people are going to. And if we had more services exposed, I just have hello.techdox, but we could see what the most popular site is. Now, this stuff here, all down here, is behind a paywall. So when I show you, when we go install it via a paid, the free version, you'll see what this will look like. But to be honest, the basic page is pretty straightforward. Once we've exposed the service and we can protect everything, I think that speaks enough for itself. Now coming down to the logs, we can see straight away any sort of attacks that were identified, and you can see that I did have a couple of attacks when I first set up this website, which is great to see, and especially for demos. Now we can also do some rate limiting. So let's say if our site was just getting smashed with traffic, we can actually rate limit it, and I'll show you how that all works in a second. Now, the anti-bot, auth, and waiting room logs, they are all behind a paywall. But to be honest, this is just a way just to see, you know, any bots that were coming through to our website. SafeLine WAF makes it really easy to add an auth page to your web service. I'll show you that in a second. We've got the waiting room as well. So this is a great way. Let's say you're running a sale and you needed to kind of limit the traffic on how many people could access your web service. This is how you can do it. So if you ever like, you know, you've gone to a Black Friday sale that's just gone and you're kind of sitting in a waiting room with a little pending timer, that's kind of the similar thing. Now the web services here, this is like your reverse proxy side of things, right? This is if you use Nginx Proxy Manager and stuff like that, you would be familiar with this concept. So if we're wanting to add a web service, let me edit it. You can see here, I want this to be on 443, like protected via HTTPS. So that support, we will put the listening port on, but the upstream is pretty much what is this port running locally? How do I access this service locally? And that's exactly it. I'll show you how all this works and we'll set it up on the other half of this video. You can see we can also add SSL certs here as well. And again, I'll show you how all this works, but it's really straightforward. And we can close under there. And straight away, you can see we can actually put the protections in place for the server. So this is where it becomes a bit more than just a reverse proxy and the WAF stuff starts coming in. So let's say if I was getting hammered by a lot of bots, which I was initially, I don't seem to be getting any sort of bot traffic or heavy traffic. It's a shame because I was hoping to be able to showcase that. But to enable it is essentially just click bot protect, right? So if we click bot protect, you can see we can actually get a few things here. So we can actually turn on the anti-bot challenge if we like. So you get the basic one, which is great out of the box, but slide, which is, you know, that little bot thing that comes up and you need to slide the bar to match whatever. That's what this is. But the basic one will also be great. And then you got a few more dynamic protections here as well. And a lot more details are explained here. So just to quickly explain this, it says here, so for the dynamic protection, when dynamic protection is turned on, the HTML and JavaScript codes in your website will be dynamically encrypted into different random results each time you visit it. It could effectively block crawlers and attack automated exploit programs, right? So that's what that is, and that's the functionality that you can turn on if you would like. So let's I just want the anti-bot challenge. I can hit save, and there we go. We now have that, and that should hopefully start blocking any sort of bot attacks that we get. But another great thing. So this is my website, right? But let's say I wanted it public, but only to a select few users. I've just hit refresh. You can see now we've got the bot protection. It's verifying my connection. So we'll just see what happens. It's just going to make sure I'm not a bot. We'll give it a second. Let's confirm that I'm not a bot. There we go. That was great to see live in action. But let's say we wanted to expose this application, right? Only to a select amount of users. It still needs to be on the internet, but we don't want everyone to be able to access it. Or maybe there was a web page, part of our web services that we wanted to protect. Coming back to our web services, what we could do is click on off. And then if I click enabled, we can now set a username and password. So let's just do admin, and we'll put a super secure password of admin, and I'm going to hit save. Now let's go back to the web service I have. We're here. I'm going to hit refresh. And now we get an auth challenge. And if I do admin, and the password was admin, and hit login, now we can access our service, right? So that's how easy it was to protect our application. Now, if you're exposing your services via like Cloudflare, sort of similar thing, right? You can expose it directly via Cloudflare Zero Trust, or you can use the Zero Trust application rules and put protection on there as well. What this is more of a self-hosted solution. You're not really relying on Cloudflare. You know, if there's ever an issue with Cloudflare, at least you're hosting your own service here. And then you've got the HTTP flood option. So if we click this, we can straight away see. So the waiting room, like I was showing you before, helps manage traffic spikes by queuing excess visitors, right? So if you were noticing a massive hit on your web services, you can just turn on the waiting room, and then you can say how many users are allowed to be on the web page at a certain time. Now this here you can see is also behind a paywall. But again, if you're running a service that is getting that many people that is crashing your website, then you probably are at an enterprise level, and then you can probably justify paying for something like this. So we'll cancel out of that. And then we've got the SSL certs. So again, if you're familiar with something like Nginx Proxy Manager, you know that you can handle your certs there. And if you need to add certs, you can just grab them here. So if you already have some, you can upload them, or you can just get them as you need them. So I can actually set up a domain here, but it probably won't work because I don't actually have it set up on my in my DNS records, but we'll see. And we'll hit submit. We'll see if it goes through. I doubt it will. There we go. So as it says, there's no A records found. So as soon as I added an A record for that in my cloud register, which is in Cloudflare, then that would go through. And I can show you how all this works on the second half when we actually redeploy SafeLine. We have the protections. Again, you have access limiting, attack limiting, and error. They've got a spelling mistake there. Attack limiting. You got some custom rules here as well. If you want to add some custom rules, allow who can come from where, what IP addresses, you want to block certain IPs and stuff like that. And then you've got the detection modules, right? So this here is basically how it's going to handle these attacks or whatever, right? So you can be balanced. So you can just have it on auditing. You can have it on strict. There's a good balance that you can set on all of these modules. And then on the system, we've got our users. If you want to add more users, you need to pay, but otherwise you would just get your general admin user. We've got APIs. If you want to use APIs, that's an option there. Then you've got config autosync. Now, I haven't actually, I'll be honest, I haven't really looked into this side too much. Where it says become master node and slave node, I'm assuming this is for redundancy purposes, so you can just have multiple Safelines up and running, but this is a paid feature. You can also have a cert for the Safeline web console itself, which is up here, so we can sort that if we needed to. You got performance mode, which is behind a paywall. You've also got attack alerts, which is also behind a paywall. I'll be honest, I wish this part, the alerts, wasn't behind a paywall. Just one option or something that we could send it to a Discord channel, which would be great. So if attacks were happening, we would immediately get alerted. But that there is Safeline, and you can actually see we've got a few more blocks that have happened, which is awesome. Right, so that there is Safeline, right? That's it running. That's it from a high level overview of a service running, how we can add the protections. So now I'm going to show you how you can get this all up and running yourself using Docker, and then we'll also add a web service and stuff like that. So this here is the install steps for installing Safeline, right? So first off, there is a one-step installer here for the automatic deployment of Safeline if you would like. Now, I'm not a big fan of just one-click deployments of services. I like to install them via Compose and have the Compose file myself and all of that stuff, and they also give you that option as well. So they have these steps here for, first off, getting Docker all installed, and then also the steps that you need to go through for getting a directory set up for Safeline and then getting the Compose file. Now on my documentation website, I'm already going to have the Compose file for you that you can just grab, and also the .environment file already set up with how I've got mine set up, and then you can just tweak it as you need it. On my site, I'll have exactly what to change and everything as well. But you can see they also give you all of this, so a link to this will also be in the description. So what I have here, and this is how I normally set up my Docker Compose files and stuff like that, is I would just do an ls. You can see I have a Docker folder. So I'm going to change directory into there, and then you can see here that I have two folders, Bunker and Safeline. We're going to go into the Safeline run, right? So I've made a directory called Safeline. Again, all of these steps will be broken down in my docs. Now in here, in my Safeline folder, I have two files. I have the Compose file, and I have the .environment file. Now again, coming back there to their documentation, you can grab the Compose file by running this command. Otherwise, you can grab it from my docs website. And then also the .environment file you will make, again, the instructions here, but also on my website. But then we need to populate them with some variables. So I've already done that. So let's just quickly cover first off the environment file. So if we have a look at this, again, if you're just grabbing the template one that I have on my website, you'll just be good to go. So if you followed my directory structure as well, so under home, under your user, and then Docker and Safeline will be your Safeline directory. The image tag latest, it just means that you'll be using the latest Docker image that they have available. The management port is the port that you access Safeline on, which is 9443. Now you can set the Postgres password for this. Mine is just testing, but you can set this to whatever you like. Of course, don't leave it as testing. You've got the subnet prefix here. This is just what Safeline will use for the internal communication. So you don't actually have to worry about changing any of this. This should be fine as it is. You've got the image prefix, and as you can see in the documentation, this here is just a mirror repository prefix. And then we've got the arch suffix and the release. So if you're using, say like a Raspberry Pi or something, and that's running something like ARM, then you would put ARM here. And then the release here is, by default, it will use like their latest release. If you want to use like the LTS, then you could just set LTS here instead, right? Again, this is all explained in their documentation. But effectively, you don't really need to change much, right? You just need to make sure that the Safeline directory matches exactly where your Compose file is, where your Safeline stuff is all going to live. And we can close out of this. And then we can have a look at the Compose, but honestly, we don't need to change anything because it's all set up to use the variables based on the environment variables. And that's the great thing about environment variables. So once you've done that, we can actually just do a Docker Compose up-D and hit enter, and this will create our container for us. And you can see which ones all the services, right? So we had the Safeline detector, PG, FVM, Chaos, Tenjin, management, and we've got the Luigi one as well. So that will be all up and running now. So going back to where my Safeline was, it's going to refresh, and now we are pretty much starting from scratch now, right? So make sure to read their software license agreement, and once you've done that, you can hit agree, start using. Now you're going to hit this login page, and you're going to be like, I don't have a login. That's exactly right. And now if we go to the documentation, you can see that we actually just need to quickly generate our administrator account. So if I copy this, go back to our deployment and you paste this in, what this is going to do is going to connect to your Safeline management container, and it's going to run the reset admin command so that you can reset your admin and get the credentials. So we'll hit enter. And then we go. So we've got our username now and the password. So I'm going to copy that and we'll go back to the admin. So we'll go back to Safeline and we'll put the admin in, put that password in, and now we can hit login. And now we're there. So now you can see at the top here, it says upgrade license. So now I'm on that free version. I want to be openly transparent. So I want to show you all of this. So again, like I said, on the basic page, nothing's blocked here. Nothing's behind the paywall, which is great. But if we come under advanced, now you can see that those features down the bottom here were under a paywall. And again, if you're a free home user, this shouldn't really bother you too much because you get the main key features, right? Now, if we come under logs, again, anti-bot, off, waiting room behind a paywall, but that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to walk you through exposing a server. So if this is all new to you, you don't know how to set up A records and all of that stuff, then you're going to learn exactly how this all works. So of course you need a domain because that's how we're going to run a service. And also you're going to have to be hosting a service itself. So on my server here, you can see that I have a little Nginx server, right? This is the one that's running the Hello Nginx web server. So we're going to create a new service. Rather than hello, we'll call this one goodbye, okay? And now goodbye is what we're going to set up to host this Nginx web server. Now this is just running on port 8080, so I can access this via the local IP address. So it's running on the same machine that's running Safeline. So if I just change this to 8080 and change it from HTTPS to HTTP and hit enter, that's our Nginx server, right? This is the one we want to expose on the domain goodbye.techdox.nz. So first off, what we need to do before we can really expose it is we need to make sure that there's an A record pointing to our home network, right? Our IP address on our home address. So what this means is that for Safeline to communicate to the internet and for things to communicate to Safeline, we need to port forward, right? So you need to port forward port 80 and 443 on your router, okay? So you need to make sure you do those. And that's different for every router. So what I run is mine just on like a mobile app, and I can just set the two ports, point them to the IP address on my home network and say, hey, expose port 80 and 443 to the internet. If you have any questions on how to port forward, jump into the Discord and I'm more than happy to help you. But you need to make sure those are port forwarded. So this is Cloudflare. So this is where my DNS management is all set up for my techdox.nz domain. Now, wherever your domain register is, where you handle your DNS, you'll have to go there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an A record to point the goodbye name for my domain name to my IP address. Now, I've just changed it to 123, so I don't need to edit it in post, so not everyone sees my public IP address. And the great thing about Cloudflare is that I can proxy this A record. So what that means is that if someone goes to ping or they access the goodbye or the hello.techdox.nz, they will see a Cloudflare IP address. They won't see my public IP address, right? So it's a nice way to secure your IP address behind Cloudflare while still using something like Safeline and not using like Cloudflare Zero Trust. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete that record and we'll make a new one. So we're going to add a new record, right? So we'll call this one goodbye, right? So goodbye.techdox.nz will be the domain name. Now I'm going to put in my public IP address in here. And there it is. So you can see a record, goodbye, and I actually have my IP address in there. I've just edited the element. And then that's it, right? So we've got that pointing to my public IP address. And then once that hits it, it's going to then hit Safeline, and Safeline's going to know exactly how to handle that. So now I can come back to Safeline and we can go to web services, and now we can add a web service. So what's the domain name? It's goodbye.techdox.nz, right? And we can save that. And now I don't want this on port 80, even though I have that open on my my router, but I want this to be via 443 only, so I'm going to delete that. And now we need an SSL cert for this, since we'll be using 443, so I'm going to add a new cert. And this takes me to a new page, which is that cert page. So we'll go add cert and we'll get free cert. And now I can put that domain name in. And since I have the A record, it's going to know that I can have this cert. And then we're going to do admin@techdox.nz and we're going to hit submit. And it's going to reach out, check that that A record exists. It's going to know that that's all good. And then I can actually get that cert. So I'm going to hit submit. And you have to have the port forwarding as well, right? So it can actually reach out. Otherwise, this won't work either. So make sure you have the port forwarding, you have the A record. And if I've done it all right, we should get our cert. And there we go, we got it. So I reached out and was happy with that, and we have our cert. So I can go back here, and now we can see goodbye.techdox, so we can click that one. And now we need to put that IP address in. So the IP address of the service was 19, we need the HTTP, so don't forget that. And remember, my service locally is HTTP, but we're going to make it via HTTPS. So, but don't put HTTPS here because locally it's not accessible on that, right? We can add a little comment here if we want, but that's all good. We'll hit save. And now this should be all good. And you can see here that it says welcome to Nginx. So that's a pretty good sign that that worked. So now let's try this. So coming to this web browser, we'll do goodbye. So goodbye.techdox.nz and hit enter. And there you go, we can access it, which is awesome, and we should see that request. So I come back to stats. There we go. So we can see the query. We're actually getting a couple. Look at these queries coming in. Let's see if they keep coming in, and I'll see if I can actually put some protection on. I'll show you that live, and see, look at these queries. This is more than just me, so I'm refreshing. Look at this, total attacks, 14. And we're not blocking any of them. We're getting attacked. Germany is at it again. They're attacking. So, so what we can do is we can actually go to our web service, right? And I can go, man, I'm getting attacked by bots right now. I'm going to hit bot protect. Let's put that anti-bot challenge on, right? And we'll hit save. And let's see if we can stop those German attacks. So come back to stats. Bam, look at that. Blocked. We already blocked 17 of them. There we go. And now we're seeing a spike at the bottom here. We've blocked it. We're winning. So straight away, those queries have dropped, and now those requests are slowing down. And then yeah, that was great. That was a great way to see that. So we can see block straight away. And that was as soon as we exposed our service, right? So this is why a WAF is important, because like, we could just use a reverse proxy, but now we were immediately getting attacked as soon as we published our website. And now we can put that protection in there. There's like a WAF offers, such as, you know, what SafeLine offers. And then we were getting that protection in place. Now, again, we can add even more. We can add the auth if we want. And again, this is free. We can add a user here, and this is all part of the free feature. So I can add admin, we'll hit save. It's doing the bot protection now. It's making sure that we are not a bot and we're legit and we can access it. So it's going to verify us. And there it is, auth challenge. So now I can put admin, hit login. And we accessed our website. And now we come back to statistics. We can see that we've got some more queries in here. You know, 17 were blocked. That's awesome, right? But that there is SafeLine. Now, I am more than happy to help you get this set up. If you've got any questions or anything like that, jump into the Discord. And again, we can give out 4 7-day pro licenses. So if you're keen to just get a feel for this, maybe you work for a business and you're keen just to see if this would suit your business needs, then go for it. And the reason I'm saying business is because let's have a look. So if we come to SafeLine, if we come down and look at their pricing, you can see here that, you know, it's free for the SafeLine WAF, but $600 a year or $100 a month. This isn't going to work for home users, and you can see they're not targeting home users. This is for professional and enterprise users. So if you are a business, then this is probably the way to go. Now I'm going to have a link in the bottom, which will be an affiliate code that if you use it, then to buy a year license for a business use, you also get an additional free month. So if you are going to buy it, check out my code below for a business sake. But again, my community, the home users, I'm not expecting you guys to buy this, but I wanted to show you this because if you are going to expose your services, you should be aware of the options that you have and the services that are there to help you protect your services rather than just exposing them straight to the internet. And this was a clear view, and we just seen this go up again of how quickly your services are getting attacked as soon as you've released them to the internet. So find services that protect your applications such as SafeLine, get them implemented into your home lab. But that's the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Again, all the links, all the documentations, all the steps, everything I covered will be in the description below. If you ever get stuck, join the Discord. More than happy to help. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.